So I just got back from studying abroad in London with the BU London program. I just kind of wanted to share my entire experience, everything you need to know about it, the application, preparations, where to live, the class schedule, what to do, how to travel, when to travel, just my whole study abroad experience in London with Boston University. I hope you guys enjoy. So I have my computer here with like a whole outline of what I want to talk about and notes. So if you see me looking at it, that's why. First, I want to start with the application because it opens over the summer before you go. So I went in the spring of 2025 and it opened in summer of 2024. Pretty straightforward. You don't get the questions beforehand, but I'm going to tell you guys exactly what questions I had on my application. I don't know about you, but whenever I'm filling out a form with answers, I always will put my answers in a separate document just in case the page refreshes and I lose everything, because that's the worst. So I just so happened then I have all of the questions and my answers in a doc right now. Here we go. Question 1. Describe why you chose to apply to the study abroad program and location. 2. Describe how this program fits into your academic plan for this particular semester. 3. List any courses you hope to take on the program. 4. List any courses you've taken or are currently taking that are relevant to the program. 5. Describe why you are a good fit for admission into this program this semester. 6. What do you expect to learn or experience while on the program? 7. List 3 advertising and marketing interest areas you are hoping to explore. Obviously specific for the advertising and marketing internship track, which is what I was doing as a program. There's a bunch of different ones. You would choose them based on like your major and what you're interested in. All of the different tracks would have different prereqs that are relevant to your major. So mine were all like advertising and communications classes that I had to complete before studying abroad. So those will be different. So definitely look at that. 8. Elaborate on your motivation to pursue an advertising and marketing internship program. 9. What do you hope to get out of this advertising and marketing internship experience? That's all of them. So you just had to submit that online, and I think I heard back within a couple weeks that I was accepted, which was very, very exciting. And it was nice to know that over the summer so I could really plan, because I had planned my whole 4 years around studying abroad in the spring of my junior year. So definitely apply early, because I know of some people who waited to apply and didn't get in. I think beforehand all I needed was an appointment with an advisor just to ensure that my course planning and everything is set for me to graduate on time and that study abroad wouldn't set me back. I did not need a letter of recommendation. So the London program is all internship based. They used a third party called EUSA. Forget what it stands for, but it's EUSA, and they would match you with internships. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't heard really any good experiences using them, but you don't have a choice. So there's a separate like application for that where you put in your different interests, what you would want to get out of an internship. You have different learning objectives, learning areas, that type of thing. You meet with their placement people and then they pair you with someone. To be fair, this was the biggest BU London class ever. They'd never had this many students before, so obviously they were overworked, but I feel like they definitely could have planned and accounted for that much better to actually give students attention and give them what they wanted to get out of these internships. Because I heard some crazy horror stories from this. Mine wasn't that bad, but they did not pair me in any area that I said I was interested in. I wanted to work for like an advertising agency or an in-house agency, and I wanted to get experience working on ad campaigns and, you know, more overarching advertising. And instead they paired me at a small jewelry company doing social media, and like graphic design was part of my description, and I felt like I couldn't really advocate or stand up for myself and say, hey, this isn't what I'm interested in, because I felt like if I said something then it would be taken away, you know, and that I wouldn't get paired again, which isn't true. But to be fair, some people didn't get paired for their internship until like after they were supposed to have started it. Like EUSA got really, really behind, and some people did not know until after they were supposed to be starting. So thankfully I knew in like December where my internship pairing was, but it still ended up being very different than what I expected and did not follow the job description and the information EUSA had given me. None of that was accurate, which was really frustrating on my part, because I feel like I went in blind and I was a little blindsided because it was not what they had told me it was going to be. And there's just lots of other things of some people working as like personal assistants for like some verbally abusive bosses, and just having expectations that are not okay to be putting on students, and like having people pay out of pocket for some things and not reimbursing them. Just there's a lot of issues that I heard of. So just keep that in mind. I mean, some people had amazing experiences. I definitely set my expectations really high and was disappointed. So, because it might not be super relevant, but it's still experience in a different country, which is super vital and exciting. And you might get to see more of the city because through my different internship tasks, just like running around the city, I saw a lot more than I would have regardless. So that was definitely cool to feel a bit more immersed in the city and the culture. I'm going in chronological order here. So application over the summer, and then you have the internship stuff, and then you have to start thinking about your visa, which this was one of the most stressful parts of studying abroad for me, honestly, because it felt like a lot was riding on this, obviously. You definitely have to give it the amount of time it needs. You can't do it last minute, because specifically your biometrics appointment, this was the most stressful part for me because I thought I made the appointment at the Boston location. Turns out it was in Revere. That was the closest I could do. So make sure you know that. Thank God I had a car on campus, and once I realized it was only a few hours from my appointment, so I pretty much had to hop in and head over there because traffic, and you want to get there early. And definitely like set aside a day if you're going to be doing your biometrics appointment, just in case anything goes wrong. I did the group mailing with BU for my visa, which was nice, just have it out of my hands. They said it would take a while. I had it back in 2 weeks, I think. It was extremely quick. It was faster than the shortest amount of time it said. I was very, very impressed. But when you do that, you have to make sure on like the UK Visa's website, it'll give you a shipping label. You absolutely have to download that immediately or you can't access it again. That's the biggest piece of advice, because I was like crying in the study abroad office the day I was supposed to be dropping my passport, my everything printed out. I was supposed to be dropping it off for the group mail that day, and I didn't have the shipping label because I didn't download it immediately. Thank God I was able, through a roundabout way, to re-log in and kind of do it, and I found it, thank God. Otherwise I would have had to spend $50 to $100 through UPS to do it myself, and that would have been so stressful having to worry about all those logistics, whereas at least it's out of my hands, so if anything happens, BU is liable, not me. I would definitely recommend doing the group mail and just making sure you have all your ducks in a row before you go, because I did not, and I was like beside myself for the whole week. And next, you're gonna want to figure out where you're living. I chose to get a single. I didn't think I was gonna get one, but there was a box you could check that like, if you had the possibility to get a single, would you want it? It might be an extra charge. And I just clicked that box thinking nothing of it. But I ended up getting a single, which was awesome. I ended up lucking out a lot with my housing. The one that most people want to live in is Crofton. BU London campus. There's a classroom building, which is Harrington Gardens. And then there's 3 other dorms in South Kensington, kind of near there. And then there's one other dorm in Bloomsbury called Byng. And I got placed in Byng, which was a blessing in disguise, because the other ones, while they're closer to campus, they're older buildings, they're not really up to date. There's like carpets in all the rooms, the walls are bright yellow, and you have shared floor kitchens, which the amount of horror stories I heard of, like there just being trash pot up everywhere, people stealing other people's foods, never having the space or like relaxation of just cooking in peace, because everyone is trying to do that all at once. And even if you have 2 ovens in your shared floor kitchen, that's not nearly enough for everyone to do their own meals every night when we have pretty much the same schedules. I will say, while South Kensington is absolutely beautiful, it is first and foremost a residential area. So there's not a ton of stuff to do around. There's some more bougie cafes and restaurants, but there's not nightlife, there's not younger people. It doesn't feel like college, and it doesn't feel like you're in the heart of the city. You're kind of, you know, in a nice residential area outside of it. So I got so lucky being in Bloomsbury, because first of all, BU had just bought the building. This was actually the first semester that they had used the building for BU London. They'd used it, I guess, for CGS over the summer once before, but this was the first time. So no one knew anything about it. There wasn't information online. So I was so stressed going in, because at that address, there's multiple things showing up. There's a church, there were Byng Place apartments, but when you click on the link, it's super old and you don't know if it still looks like that anymore. And then one of the other links took you to a gambling site. So I was like, is this even a real place? Like, why am I getting redirected to some weird sketchy website? But it all ended up being fine. Another thing that was weird is, since I was in a single, I couldn't see my roommates, so I didn't know if I had like a studio apartment or not. But I ended up being in a single with 2 roommates. So we had 3 singles, then we had 2 bathrooms, we had a big kitchen, a living room. It was amazing. And our resident life supervisors, those are pretty much the RAs that we have in London, they said that we had the best room in the whole building, which I believe because it was the best setup. We were on the corner, so we had a great view, big windows, and our kitchen, just so amazing. Like the first time I'd lived in an apartment, and that one was perfect. I'm gonna miss it so much. We made it like home, we decorated it. It was gorgeous. So I would highly recommend that. We were on the 3rd floor, which technically was 4 flights of stairs up. So that was kind of difficult because no elevator, and moving in, carrying your bags was kind of rough. And then the laundry was in the basement. So going up and down was literally such a workout. I could rave about Byng for so long. It was so amazing. Our RLSs were the sweetest people ever. We got so close, and we also were right by Soho. We were in walking distance of like everything amazing in London. Like it was an ideal location, and we were right across from the Gower Street Waterstones, which is the largest new and used bookstore in Europe, and it was beautiful. We had Lever and Bloom coffee right out front. It's this little stand, but they do have real locations elsewhere in London. It was so convenient having that there. If you didn't ever want to make coffee at home, if you're running late, you could just grab it there, and it's literally out the front step in the courtyard. And they would give us a little discount because they use part of our building for storing something, so they give us a discount just for living there. And it was really cute because our RLSs were really good friends with the workers at Lever and Bloom, so they would come to most of our events and bring free pastries because they made insane cinnamon rolls. Not only was it cinnamon, but they also had like vanilla, cardamom. So it was amazing having that right there, and we just had so much around, and it was so nice. Whereas the people in South Kensington probably couldn't walk to anything. They had to take the tube 45 minutes to where we are to do anything, whereas we could just walk or take the bus or something. While it was inconvenient having to go 40-ish minutes to class, it ended up working out well, and we got to see so much more of the city than other people, because I feel like some people just got too comfortable in South Ken. They didn't really feel the need to explore that often, and they never went on the tube. They never really got out into the city. They just kind of stayed there and then traveled to different places. Whereas it was an adventure going to class. You got to go on the tube, and I would read my book for 40 minutes, and then I would get off. And then once I'm out, I don't want to go straight back because it was such a big adventure. So then I would do other things on my way back from class. And then, it just became a day out of it, and I explored so much. So definitely pros and cons, but it was expensive getting to and from. So keep that in mind because BU does not provide any transportation. I think they try to make up for it because we have free laundry at our place, whereas the other dorms had to pay for laundry. But still, honestly, public transit was probably more expensive than laundry would ever be. I would appreciate if BU provided us with Oyster cards for living in Byng. Another thing I should say is the exact names of the other BU dorms. So there's Crofton, Sorbonne, and why am I forgetting the other one? Okay, the other one is Courtfield. So it's Crofton, Sorbonne, and Courtfield. Those are the ones that are in South Ken. And then there's Byng all the way over in Bloomsbury. I had to change out my SD card because it just got filled up. The other thing I wanted to mention in South Ken is our classroom building. Most of the classes, all of mine were in Harrington Gardens, but there was a chance that you would have some in like the basement of Crofton. So just keep that in mind. But the classroom building was amazing. It was so cute. It's this little brick building, and it had access to one of those private gardens in the middle in between the buildings. Not that we could really go out there, but so there's really, really nice views out of it, and the rooms were so nice. I'll insert some photos that I have from them, but it felt very London and really homey. All of the employees there were so nice. I've never felt more taken care of and more supported than I have in London. There's like free therapy, there's social program coordinators, and their whole job basically is just to like put on events for you to get you to see the city and to allow you to have the best time possible. So I joined book club with one of them, and she was super sweet, and we were reading the book. We honestly didn't like it. It was The Fraud by Zadie Smith. Like, no one really liked that. I did a few of the social program events, but they did do a few overnight trips that I didn't go on. They went to Berlin, they did Wales, and Edinburgh. Honestly, the amount you're paying for the value probably isn't that great because you're staying in hostels and it's still kind of an expensive trip, but definitely good to meet people and to have someone else plan everything for once. I'll do a separate video on what I packed and what I'd recommend, that type of thing, but let's jump straight into when you arrive and the schedule. So you arrive earlier than you would on BU campus. I think it was January 12th was the day you had to get there and move in, but I got there a few days earlier with my mom, which was really nice just to kind of get a feel for it, and having her there was obviously made the transition a lot easier. I struggled so much to find information on the schedule or what to do. I want to share what my schedule looked like, and I think it will be the same. They were just super behind on giving it to us for literally no reason. I don't think I knew before the day of my first class what days and what times I had my class. For everyone, it was the same. You had class Monday through Thursday, then you had Friday off, and you had a long weekend for the first half of the program, because since we're on the internship track, the first half was just classes. The second half was the internship along with one other class. Since we're doing a full 16 credit semester, that's 4 classes. So you have kind of like a core class for your track. So mine was the marketing like core class. And then you have an elective, and those are your first 2 classes. And you have those for 4 hours from Monday through Thursday. So you can either have them from 9 to 1 p.m. or 1 to 5 p.m. Then the second half, you have your internship counts as 1 class, and then you have a seminar to go along with that. That's like every other week. They changed the times. That I would always forget about. So that was bad. And I wouldn't remember until like the morning of. I never missed one, but just keep that in mind. Put all those dates in when you first get them, because the seminar does sneak up on you. But those technically count as 1 4-credit class. And then the last one is another elective that you take at the same time as your internship. So for me, my internship schedule was, I had my internship Monday through Thursday, like 9 to 6 p.m., which was insane in person. And then Friday I had class from 10 to 2 p.m. It would always be the internship 4 days class, either Monday or Friday. So some people had class Monday, internship Tuesday, Friday, whatever. So that I did not find out about until also probably the day before of what dates. So I would really, really recommend, do not make any travel plans. Do not until you fully know, because since you're on a student visa, you do have to have a certain number of hours in the classroom to be considered a full-time student, and missing 1 class is 4 hours that you're missing. So you only get 1 excused absence. Past that, you have to jump through a lot of hoops to miss class. You need a doctor's note if you're gonna miss a class. Don't expect to miss any, because it's out of BU's hands. You know, it's like the UK government giving you your visa, so it's more strict than it ever has been. In Boston, you can kind of just do whatever you want because you're paying tuition, but here it is different. So you don't want to risk getting your visa revoked. I mean, I don't know anyone that has, but still, you know, who would want to be the first person to do that. Another thing to mention is that in between the first half and second half, you have finals. So mine were pretty simple. Every final in my classes were an essay or essay questions, and I just had a certain time to do it, and it was take home. I didn't have an exam, though I know some classes did have exams. Mine were all pretty simple. They were open notes, and I did well on all of them, so it wasn't super stressful. After that, we had a little break. I'll put the schedule in here so you can get more of a visual, but we did have a few days off called our semester break, but some people ended up having finals until one of the last days, so they only still had a long weekend. They only had Friday off. Internship starts on Monday. It's not much of a break. It's definitely overhyped, but that could potentially be, if you had your finals remote, you could give yourself like a 5-day trip-ish there. So that is an option. I didn't end up doing anything. I needed a break because I had traveled every weekend during classes. So I needed a break before the internship started. Another thing too is the curriculum is a little bit different. So we have 2 field trips in every class, and those are usually to different museums and stuff. So that does help to break it up so you're not just sitting there hearing your professor lecture for 4 hours. They are supposed to also have guest speakers. Not every professor does it exactly the same. Those are always just interesting to hear their stories because they're all working in the UK. Since the classes are 4 hours, you're supposed to get 2 20-minute breaks to break it up. So you're supposed to go like an hour and a half, then you get 20 minutes, keep going, get 20 more minutes, and then the class is over, which was really nice. But it was also really bad for our bank accounts because we'd always just go to Gales or Blank Street and get a coffee in the middle of it, and I would have so much caffeine every single day. You would want to treat yourself because you've been sitting there for so long, and it just it was every day. Sometimes I would just try to go on a walk and not spend money, but it was hard. And in terms of the workload of study abroad, it was really easy. I just had a few group projects or bigger individual projects throughout the semester. I didn't have day-to-day homework. I mean, they would try to assign reading in the textbook. No one did it. And they knew that no one was doing it, so they didn't ever reference it. Some classes, they would just have you do like a little ad showcase where you'd pick an advertisement in the UK, explain it, why it worked, why it didn't, or you'd have to make an advertising campaign for like a UK company or create a new dating app. That was one of our assignments. Writing an essay about a UK Christmas ad. And then another essay I had was about British brand that had gone through some recent controversies, how they can overcome it, that type of thing. Just kind of like a business analysis of the brand. It was just stuff that I would put off and then do at the last minute usually. So week to week I didn't actually have homework, which was really nice. So all of the times on your trips you can just sit back and relax. Just had to go through and delete some more things off my SD card, but we have plenty of time now. I'm afraid I now deleted way too much because how do I have that much storage? So let's talk about travel. I went to 10 different countries, 11 or 12 different trips. I would say I did quite a bit. There's some people that went literally every single week, which I don't know how they did it because I got so burnt out, especially when I was working the internship and not really enjoying it. I was really, really unhappy during that time and I didn't want to travel. I did force myself to do a couple trips, but it was a struggle. I would definitely do most of your traveling at the beginning when you still have the energy. In order, the first trip I did Barcelona, Lisbon, Milan and Lake Como, Athens, Greece, Paris with my mom. And then I was able to take a full week for spring break and be remote for my internship, which was absolutely amazing because my friends and I had planned that month in advance, which was stressing me out a lot if I would even be able to go on it because it was all paid for and they were coming to see me, but I still didn't know if I would be able to do it. So thank God that worked out, but I would not recommend that. They came to London and then we went to Amsterdam and Brussels and then London a bit at the end. After that trip, I did my very first solo trip to Venice, which was absolutely amazing. I've always wanted to go to Venice and also I never thought I would be able to do a solo trip by myself. So that was just very fulfilling and I was very proud of myself for doing that. And it's not that scary and it's not that hard and no one really cares if you're traveling alone. Really like eye-opening and it was just awesome to see Venice because I had been so afraid that it was gonna be underwater before I would ever get to see it. I think after Venice was Malta, which was actually insane. I never thought I would go to Malta. We ended up going for about 5 days. That normally wouldn't happen, but we do technically get a 4-day weekend for Easter, for the bank holiday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Any travel during that weekend was insanely expensive, like £1,000 flight anywhere. So obviously I wasn't even gonna bite the bullet and do that. The internship ended a little bit earlier than our classes and finals. So the internship stopped and we just had a bunch of classes. I did have a break before finals and one of my roommates did too. So we ended up finding 5 days that we could go to Malta the week before our spring holiday. That was the last trip of study abroad, but then my parents met me and my brother and we did a road trip through Germany and Austria, which was another dream trip of mine. And that was great to end on a family trip and not have to worry about money anymore because I was struggling at that point. I do want to do a video on budgeting because I think it's good to have transparency around this and also how much money you should be bringing because I did not think I would spend so much, but London is an insanely expensive city and traveling is not nearly as cheap as you think it would be because people make it seem like the flights you can get for $30 to Europe, but that's not the case. Only one flight I was able to get for I think $50. That was the cheapest I was ever able to find and it was to Milan. Take that as you will. Okay, the last few little things I wanted to add is right when you get to London in January, the weather is not going to be very great and just keep that in mind and don't write off London immediately because I kind of regret doing that, of not really giving it a fair shot. I wouldn't wake up very early before classes, so I'd just be going to class and back and it was dark by the time I got back and it felt very monotonous. It was very dreary in London. We rarely saw the sun. It was cold and then I would just leave on the weekend to try to escape it. I didn't really gain an appreciation for London until I started staying and obviously when the weather was nicer, just camaraderie that there is in London when the sun is out. Everyone is outside, everyone's at a pub, everyone is laying in the grass. Like it is such a beautiful thing and I've never experienced that anywhere else. Give yourself some time to enjoy London in the springtime in the nicer weather because we got I think, unseasonably lucky in how the weather was at, honestly, even the end of March into April. It was absolutely beautiful. However, I would love to see London in summer because I feel like things were just starting to ramp up as we left at the end of April, and it would have been nice to see that. I think that's all I have for this video. I'm trying to think if I forgot anything. Yes, there is one thing I forgot. This program is open to people of all different schools. So that was something that surprised me, as I expected it to be all BU students, but there were surprisingly a lot of students from other schools. They had a bunch of pendants in the classroom building of all the different schools, if you can see them all. So that was really interesting to see. So you definitely do have the opportunity to meet people that you wouldn't normally meet. Surprisingly, I didn't know everyone there. You think that the advertising program at BU is so small you would know everyone, but there were some people I'd never seen before, so that was kind of nice. It is a lot of overlap of people I already knew, but a few different faces here and there. If you're at a different school that doesn't have a study abroad program, consider doing BU London because a lot of people do. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any other questions, anything else you want me to answer. I'm planning on making a few other videos about more niche topics with study abroad, so keep on the lookout for that because I just want to offer as much advice as I can because I couldn't find anything out there when I was looking to research this program before, and there's a lot of unknowns which stress me out a lot. So hopefully I can alleviate some of that stress for you guys. So let me know if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.